Okay, this worksheet is going to take a little time. This is classwork 4. This is what everybody struggled with. Let's just get started. Let's jump in there. As I go through this, you can look up here and refer to how to do and find the slopes of different equations. This is just to refer back to if you forget. But I'm going to go ahead and start. Number 1, y equals -2. It does not have an x on it. Therefore, the slope is 0. Just like here. The slope is 0. Not -5, not -2. These two do not have the same slope. This has a slope of 0. This has a slope of -2. This has a slope of 0. This has a slope of -2. Therefore, the parallel equations would be the equations that have the same slope. So if I used my highlighter, if I can locate it, I can highlight these two and leave the other two unhighlighted so that you see which ones are parallel. Equation 1 is parallel to equation 3. Equation 2 is parallel to equation 4. Let's look again. I do not have an x on it, so my slope is 0. I do have an x on it, so my slope is -5. When the x doesn't sit next to what you think the slope is, and it's on the other side of the equal sign, like this one, that means the slope is undefined. Again, there's a difference between this and this. I don't see an x next to what I'm thinking the slope is. So the slope of this is not -5, it's 0. But when that x sits over here on the other side of the equal sign, I'm looking at the slope as being undefined. So now let's do the next one. Slope 0, slope 0, slope -2, slope -2. These are parallel, these are parallel. Number 2, I'm looking for perpendicular. I noticed that number 1 and 4, meaning this slope and this slope, are not parallel and they're not perpendicular. And I ask myself why. Well, parallel, they have to be exactly the same. They're both negative, but this is 1/3 and that's 3. They're not perpendicular because the signs did not change. So, if the signs have to change and it has a flip, I can conclude that 1 will be perpendicular to 3. Excuse me, to this slope, meaning equation 5. -1/3, change the sign from negative to positive, and then flip it. Now, for those that are looking at this equation, remember the slope of this line is not 3. The slope of this line is 0. The slope of this one is 3. So, I'm done with number 1. I'm done with number 5. Number 4 is not perpendicular to number 1. Now I'll look at x equals -3 and y equals 3. And for those that are looking at the 3 and positive 3 and saying they are not perpendicular because you didn't flip it. Well, that's not the slope. The slope is this. That's not the slope. The slope is this. You don't see that it flipped and changed the sign. You don't see a negative reciprocal. You only see a perfect T making a 90-degree angle. This represents x equals -3. This represents y equals 3. And that gives you a 90-degree angle. That's why equation 2 and equation 3 are perpendicular. So, if you still have questions over this and it's not clear, please send me a quick message and I'll just do a video directly on parallel and perpendicular. On number 3, I want to write an equation of a line that passes through this point and is parallel to the y-axis. So if I plot -1,5, I get this point. To make the line parallel to the y-axis, I have to do this. Now that it is parallel to the y-axis, what number is it crossing and what axis is it crossing? It's crossing -1 on the x-axis, so x equals -1. This is -1, this is the x-axis. This is x equals -1. 5, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. And I want the line parallel to the x-axis. So parallel to the x-axis. And if I'm parallel to the x-axis, am I crossing the x-axis or am I crossing the y-axis? I'm crossing the y-axis. And at what number? 1, 2, 3. So this is y equals 3. Now let's do one without the drawing already done for us. -4, 1 is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, up 1. Parallel to the x-axis is here. I am crossing 1 on the y-axis. So y equals 1. -6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, +2. I am parallel to the y-axis. This is the y-axis. It's crossing what number? -6 on the x. So x equals -6. Now, on number 7, I need to find the equation of this line and figure out what's parallel and perpendicular to it. So I'm at 1 for B. I go down 1 and I go right 4. So and right is positive, so the slope is this. So for parallel, I need the same slope. For perpendicular, I have to change the sign and flip it. Which below is parallel? That would be B. Which below is perpendicular? That would be C. The slope is 4. That means it was flipped and the sign was changed. The slope is -1/4. That means it stayed the same. That's why this equation is parallel to this problem. And this one is perpendicular to this problem. Number 8, find the equation. Find the equation of this line. Start with B. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's -4. Do the slope. It's up 1 to the right 3. That's up 1 to the right 3. That's +1 over +3. That's 1/3. If the slope is 1/3 for this, parallel would be 1/3. Perpendicular would be -3. Therefore, what's parallel would be A. What's perpendicular would be B. I'm going to leave number 9 for you. Number 10 and number 11 are already done for you, so I just want to talk about number 10. I have to solve this for y by dividing by -9 so that I can see the slope. This is not the slope. I show you how to do that. 3 and -1/3, since that is now the new slope, or the slope of the problem. Those are perpendicular slopes. That's why I wrote perpendicular. Again, I had to divide by -9 to get y by itself. 3 divided by -9 gives me -1/3. And 18 divided by -9 gives me +2. I look at m. Now that I know m is -1/3, because this gave me -1/3, I can compare it to this slope. And those slopes are perpendicular because the sign changed from positive to negative, and the 3 flipped from 3 to 1/3. On number 11, had to move 3x over by adding it. That gave me 3x plus 8. Then I had to divide off the negative 2. And that gave me negative 3 halves and then a minus 4. So the slope is negative 3 over 2. And the slope for this one, I don't have to do anything to it. I can just bring it down. It's 3 over 2. The signs changed, but it didn't flip, so I know it is not perpendicular. But it can't be parallel either because they have to either both be negative or both be positive. So this is neither parallel nor perpendicular. I'm going to do number 12 and then leave the rest for you. I have to subtract 6x on both sides. That gives me 2y equals negative 6 minus 12. I divide by 2, and that gives me negative 3x minus 6. This is the slope I need. This is the slope. That's the number I need. This is the number I need. Compare the two numbers. They are not the same, so they can't be parallel. They look like they could be perpendicular, but I'm not sure. So let's check. Did the signs change? Yes. Did it flip? Yes. Therefore, you have a negative reciprocal. That means they are perpendicular. You should now have enough information to complete homework 4. After you finish, class 4, and then after you finish this packet, go ahead and do homework 4. Get it turned in before the deadline.